Hi everybody, it's Belinda from Belinda's Book Nook, and we are in the car again. That's where we're at. I know, it's kind of sad. I am waiting at pickup for my sons to get out. Today they get out a little bit earlier, so I thought what I would do, I did not tell you guys any of the books that I was planning on reading for Nonfiction November because y'all know I'm really bad with TBRs, and I always feel like whenever I really try to create a TBR, I just end up feeling bad, that I didn't read what I said. I'd rather write down my little TBR to myself, but I feel horrible when I do it and I say it online. I don't know why, but maybe I will get better and I will do some TBR videos in the future. But anyways, they're under the wraps, but I have finished my first book. And I've seen some people do this before where they kind of talk about the books. The sun's really glaring. Talk about the books that they've read as they read them. And I think it lends itself to that nicely because these are nonfiction and it makes it a lot easier for you to, for me to remember. And it gives you more content to look at as opposed to me rushing through to get through so many books and talk about them. So the first book that I got and that I've read is the book called Educated by Tara Westover. And I know a lot of you, I'm not going to say everybody because I think that's presumptuous, but a lot of you probably have already heard of this book. It was a very popular book. And I usually, and y'all know I stay away from things like that until it dies down. I know there was a lot of fuss. And then when it started to die down a little bit, Barack Obama put it on his list. And that's like the seal of of Oprah on a book, So now he has a list of books that he comes out with. So I knew a lot of people were going to pick it up, because he had mentioned it as well. I put it on hold, and then I just went about my business, and it came up so perfectly. Now I was able to read it. So I listened to the audio and just so that I could get started on some of the other books because I'm a slow reader, as y'all know. And I just thought if I can sneak a couple in of audio, maybe that will help me, read a little bit more. And sometimes I just I'm cooking, I can listen to the books and stuff. So the narrator for this, her name is, I'm just looking, I wrote down the name, is Julia Whelan. And she's the same narrator that narrated The Great Alone by Christine Hanna. Oh, and I don't know, I can't remember if I talked to you guys about that book. But in audio form, the book is probably fantastic. Oh, I'm sorry. The book is probably fantastic. If you read it in print, but the audio, she delivers it so well. The voices are amazing. And I really enjoyed it. So she's the same author of that. The same narrator as that. So I was excited to hear her again. And once again, she just nailed it. I definitely am going to look for books that she's narrated because I do enjoy her narration of stories. So to back it up for anybody that doesn't know about this book, it is a memoir by Tara Westover, and she lived with a survivalist family in the mountains of Idaho. And the fascinating thing about this is that this isn't something that happened, 50 years ago, 40 years ago. This just happened, When she's talking about dates, I could place where I was in time, and was just, floored. So anyway, she lived with this family, and the father was very, I'm going to use the word fanatical about, they're very religious, but very fanatical about just that, the government was out to get you, and very, adamant about them doing anything. Like they couldn't go to school. The mother would homeschool them, and they would, learn things at home and work for him and help the family. And that's kind of where, I'm sorry, I'm moving the phone a lot. I hope I don't make everybody sick. But anyway, so he was really, a strong character in this. And it was interesting to watch him and listen to the things that he said and to see how, this young girl was affected. She had siblings. I think, if I remember correctly, there are 7 kids. I think there are 6 kids, maybe. I want to say 7 for some reason. I know because she doesn't really talk in detail about all of them, only some of them. And she had one brother who actually was very abusive with her, physically and mentally abusive. And it was really challenging. I'm sorry, because I'm trying to keep watch for my son too. It was really challenging listening to the things that he had done to her and how she handled that information. I feel bad also I don't have a cover of the book. It was an audio book, but if you've seen it, it looks like a big pencil on the cover of the book. And what happened is she wasn't schooled other than what her mother gave her. And her brother, one of her older brothers, got accepted to go to college, and it inspired her. It kind of lit a spark. She kind of at first like resigned herself that this is her fate. She was going to stay. This is what the Lord wanted. She was going to stay home and do this and that. And then as she started to look at him and think about the possibilities, she started to see herself having more possibilities. And the sun is horrible because I can hardly see you. And so that was like the beginning of her journey to do that. And you go with her. And when I tell you this book, like I burned food 2 times listening to it. It is so captivating. It sounds like a story, like, but it's actually, a true life, what happened to her. It covers the gamut of things, the ignorance of not knowing, because she was so sheltered. I mean, some of them didn't even have, and herself included, had birth certificates. So they were able to get away with not having them in school. And not, going to the hospital, having the mother use herbs to solve, medical problems and things like that. And as they occurred, and but it talks about betrayal. I don't want to give spoilers in it because it's so good, like, and it's so gripping. It makes for you to want to read more. But she ended up going to Harvard University and then Cambridge University. And it's just so amazing. I do value in education. I went to college myself, and I think that it's just incredible to see somebody that came from that situation to be able to rise above it academically. Now, that said, she definitely dealt traumatically with, there was definitely things that happened to her that she really needed to work to. She needed to see a counselor and things like that. And probably still to this day, it seems as though she's still trying to kind of figure out how to maneuver and how is it going to work and fit in. It was so good. I don't want to spoil it. There's just so many moments where you're just like, you're rooting for her all the time, but you're just like, oh my God, can she just catch a break? And then you're just so frustrated, especially with the one brother in particular that was abusive to her. Like, he needed help. And he just, in the parents kind of turning a blind eye to it, and then trying to make her feel like she's crazy, that she's making things up and not seeing things right. So it made for an exceptional read. The father, she came out when she got out into society and started going to school. She first came across things like bipolar disease and realized that all the characteristics in it described her father, and realized that was part of the problem there with him. But so you get aspects of that in there. It's an incredible story. It's one really worth reading because I feel like there are still people out there that are living like this, and children that are still in these types of situations, and you don't want that for them. You want the best for everybody. And so it blew my mind, and I can see why people really like the book. So it was a really good start for my nonfiction November. Now I've started another one that is really, really good. I'm not even going to tell you the name of it, But when I finish it, I will do a video on it as well. I think this way, if I do them like one at a time or one or two books at a time, then if people want to pick them up and read them during their Nonfiction November, they can as well. Or whenever, you know, this is what we're doing now, but you can always read it at any time. So that is my first book for Nonfiction November. I'm enjoying it. I'm sorry. I apologize for the lighting and because the sun is crazy here, and for my hand moving because I have to hold this. But my son told me, you know, nothing like your kids to make you feel old. He saw my last video that I did in the car and he was like, oh, that's so cringeworthy, Mom. Mom, it was so cringeworthy. We have to get rid of the video. And I'm like, why? He's like, you did it. You shot the video vertical. Nobody does it like that in portrait. He goes, you have to do it in landscape. And I said, oh, well, I've already done it. And I'm going to put it up there. And my book people will be forgiving me. So he will be happy that I'm holding the camera now so that it's my holder in the car is really kind of too low. So it makes, oops, I'm sorry. There's stuff in the front. People are trying to text me while I'm on the phone. But it makes it easier when I can let that hold it, but it doesn't hold it. It's too low. I don't want you looking at my nose. Maybe you already are. But anyway, I digress. I hope you guys are having a good Nonfiction November. I will talk to you soon. There's a man getting ready to pull up next to me and think I'm crazy. So I'm going to talk to you guys later. I hope you guys are having a good time reading. Bye.